Hello and welcome to another episode of UK Crossover, your UK-based Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Now, for those listening, it might be a bit lost on you, but to those watching, be that on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcast from, you'll notice there's a slight difference in how we are laid out today. And this is all coming in the same time as our new announcement for Philly Sports International, PSI. We've been plastering it all over social media. It's a really exciting opportunity for not only fans of the Sixers, of the Phillies, and of the Eagles, Flyers, college, whatever else. Great community to be a part of, and we are launching in no less than 10 days. Sam, I know you've already signed up to be a member, so thank you so much. I've also already signed up to be a member, and there's so many things on offer for you guys. From us already on the Sixers end of things, in just 10 days' time, you could be entered into a raffle, a free entry, so long as you have a membership with us, to get a shirt that you can only have if you were in the arena on the opening night of the NBA season earlier this season. So big thanks to Sam Farr for donating that to us. Really cool shirt. I'm sure all of you guys that have already grabbed one of those from previous seasons with whatever design know they're great for the gym. They're great for lounging about in, and also just a great souvenir to have around the house. Because like I said, you only have one opportunity to get it once. Now, our other big one, and I hope we get something like this soon on the Sixers end of things. Well, our other big one, I'm going to let Sam introduce you just one moment. Because obviously, as I've mentioned before, I'm a Broncos guy. So this sort of opportunity, this prize is perhaps I can't big up to the same ability that he can. So Sam, I'm going to pass this one over to you.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, and I suppose we have to comment if people are watching that you are in full depressive mode wearing your Saint shirt right now. So,
Loving life, loving life.
yeah, we're loving life being Saints and Sixers. But yeah, I mean, some of the great stuff that PSI is offering. So we've got Brandon Graham jersey. So all of us Eagles fans, we know Super Bowl. You know, he's the most famous thing he did in I suppose in Philadelphia sports. One of the best plays of all time was knocking that ball out of Tom Brady's hand, and then Barnett recovering it. That pretty much won us the game, right? So who doesn't want a bit of BG merchandise? So there's a signed BG competition raffle going. There's loads of raffles already I've seen put on there by the different sports. So even if you're like Ben said, even if you're looking at other sports, you've got Phillies and Eagles stuff that's going to be up for grabs. Dave gets a boatload of stuff. I mean, last time I saw him, can you remember last summer when we met up for the playoff game? He had some free shirts he was giving out, and it's phenomenal what he can get. So there is so much stuff. It's worth the membership alone. Just trying to get some free swag.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all of this, I mean, the membership, that'll incorporate so many different things: access to the WhatsApp groups, access to our blogs, expertly written by top journalists like myself, of course. I hope the irony came across when I said that, but access to our blogs, opinion polls, and perhaps most importantly, access to potential trips. When I say potential, they will be coming. We just need to set those dates, figure out when the scheduling comes. Trips to Philadelphia, and that will include, of course, Eagles games, Phillies games, Sixers games. So that's what you want to be there for. Be part of this community. Go out, have a tailgate, have a few beers, have a few younglings, head to the ballpark, head to the arena, get amongst it, really immerse yourself in that Sixers community, not only here in the UK, but of course when we go over stateside. So this is a really exciting time to be part of the PSI community. Now, it's exciting here to be part of PSI. Is it exciting to be a Sixers fan? Some would say no. But if I'm being an optimist, which is a rarity, actually, it kind of is. And I think that's weird given the fact that I am a notorious negative person, glass half empty when it comes to these sort of things. But actually, I genuinely think after last night or the night before, Sixers secured the fifth seed or the fifth worst team in the NBA. We have a very high likelihood of gaining our top six pick. I would say we've got a lot to be quite excited about going into next year, albeit feeling rather daunting nonetheless.
I mean, I agree from a draft perspective. There's potential there, right? And obviously got Maxi and McCain coming back, so you've got them two. Plus, if we do keep that pick, and then we'll talk about this later on, whether we keep it, move back, depending on where we fall and who we want. That's promising. The only worrying thing going into next year is still going to be Joel Embiid, but I think Paul George will be better next year, and I think McCain and Maxey will be back to how they were at the start of the season, exciting, young to watch. And I know Maxey's getting more to the middle of his age of his career now, but they're still exciting and explosive. So you're absolutely right. I think from a long-term perspective, it looks great. But next year, I'm still a bit nervous. Need to see what happens with Joel's surgery.
Yeah, and it is that old adage of football fans being very, or football fans, sports fans rather, being very sort of blinkered in their approach to things, especially in this sort of season we've had, which is nothing short of an absolute disaster class. And we haven't even finished. And we're like, oh, you know what? Next season we could really start pulling up some trees, which is a testament to the delusion on show here. But yeah, like I said, we've nailed down that fifth worst team seed in the NBA, much to our enjoyment, which is a rather odd thing to be saying. But anyway, that's where we're at. So that guarantees us a 42.1% chance of a top 4 pick and a 10.5% chance for the number 1 pick. Now, in some previous seasons, perhaps who you're going to pick at number 1, it can be up for debate. And I know with how Duke performed in March Madness, some people have liked to throw sort of water on the flames of Cooper Flagg, but he is still the unanimous number 1 pick. Wouldn't you say so?
Absolutely. I think without a shadow of a doubt, he looks like once he's developed his body, he looks young in the face. You can tell he's still a young lad. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA should he reach his ceiling. His ceiling's higher than anyone else's, I think.
Yeah. And I know people, I sort of think, people are very reactive after Duke's loss. Being a Duke player comes with such a high level of responsibility, probably the highest in all of college sports, because you're expected to win every year, and it's such a hard tournament to win. Because all you need is one off night, and that's it. You're done for. So it comes with such an unbelievable burden to bear, especially if you're someone like Cooper Flagg, who is, like I said, the unanimous number 1 pick. And fine, he perhaps didn't have his best ever game, but there's still, like you said, there's so much there on show where you're just like, oh my word, he would do fantastically in this Sixers offense. And I think too often now, and I know that I'm sort of susceptible to this, is that we think, right, we've got the top 6 pick, right, here we go, Cooper Flagg's on his way. But if we're being realistic and the odds tell us this, the likely outcome is we don't get the number 1 pick, and we therefore need to make sure that we are absolutely clear on who we are drafting. If, of course, we get that top 6 draft pick. I mean, I did run it through the simulator, the lottery simulator, 10 times to give me a little understanding as to where we're going to be. Now, the most common pick we got was 6, pick number 6, which we got 4 times. We got pick number 1 once, pick number 4 twice, and pick number 7 3 times. So that means 3 out of 10 times we don't get our pick, according to the lottery simulator, which is hopefully just to try and, it's not trying to, dampen anyone's spirits, but just try and temper those expectations a bit, that there's still a bit of luck we need here. Now, that being said, there is still a 70% chance, according to my magnificent maths here, that we are going to get a pick of some sort. And that's likely going to fall into that 4 to 6 region. With that in mind, is there anyone that's caught your eye, or is there any particular position that you think we should be aiming at?
Great question. I think for me, I've been singing his praises all year, and that's Ace Bailey for me. I think the way he can play 6'9", a similar height to Cooper Flagg. Cooper might be an inch or 2 taller, and he's a shooting guard or small forward. So for me, that's the sort of area I think small forward is where we should be looking at. Really, I think if you want to play in the system that Nurse likes to, providing, and obviously we might touch on coaches later, what happens. I think having him and then Paul George as your forwards, McCain and Maxey as your as your guards in your backcourt, and then Embiid, etc. I think that for me works quite well. I would like to start with Maxey and McCain personally, and then my backup would maybe be, and I would probably trade back for this player, would be K2 from Duke, Con Kneppel. I think that's how you say his name, but everyone calls him K2. He would be my other one as a small forward shooting. He can make some clutch threes. I would like him as well. What about yourself? Have you got anyone that you've looked at in
Yeah,
particular?
I think Ace absolutely. I think he fits the prototype of sort of the body shape that we need in this team. I mean, the amount of times we've called out for that 6'9", 6'10" guy, and he can do that. Plus, he's got all the movement and the ability of a potential guard is outrageous. That is a unicorn type player. So absolutely, Ace is the sort of guy on my list. I can't say I've seen an awful lot of this K2 fella, but anyone from Duke is normally a pretty good egg. Now, I guess from a purely selfish perspective, I really liked, I believe it's Johnson from Texas, and I know that the reason I like him is because I want to have Texas guys on the Sixers, because that being my old uni, but beyond that as well, I did I watched, because again that's the team I was rooting for. We went out in the first round, and Johnson gets injured, and the noticeable fall off we had when he goes off was quite telling. And for me, that's a testament to just how good a player is. Now, in terms of his mold, he's a scoring sort of guard, could maybe play the three, a bit kind of like Grimes. So I'm sort of wondering, is that really what we need? Probably not. But for me, on a personal level, I wouldn't be completely anti it, because there are draft people that wiser than me, that if they think that's the way to go, I'm happy to do so. And for all of Daryl Morey's faults, he can draft well. And then other people have gone down this notion of, maybe we could get another center in. We can then bin off Drummond, and get. But then that's got me thinking. Well, I don't really care about this center, because I think there's the center that's forecasted. You're looking at. He's not going to go any higher than the 6th or 7th pick. If we really want him, I guess we could get him, but I don't really think we need him. And I apologize, I don't quite remember his name. But Bona's been fantastic. He's been awesome. This is the really good thing about what's happened in the last 12, 13, 14, 15 games, is that we've accepted that we are just going to try and lose. Let's get experimentative and let's see what works. And I think what is staring Nick Nurse straight in the face now is that Adam Bona is a bona fide, if you pardon the pun, backup center. And he's been brilliant, to the point where we've got to just look at those wing players. So I've been really happy with his contributions, amongst others. So unless I'm missing anyone, I think we've got 3 or 4 players there who, assuming we don't get that number 1 pick, there are options. And I think that's the main thing for us here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the centre that I know some people saying in the chat was, and I don't want to kill his name, but Maruch from the Duke. But the one player that I think, the one centre that has stood out for me, who we could trade back for if we wanted to, would be Derek Queen. He was shooting lights out in one game in March Madness early on. He can shoot. He's got a good jumper, and he's happy to take threes. But yeah, I'm with you, Bona, I think, because 3 or 4 weeks ago I would have been 100% in on getting a centre, but I think now Bona's perfectly fine for that job, and there'll be someone, if we're not fully convinced, that will probably be available in the market, that you can say, okay, you two battle it out for backup minutes. But
Yeah,
Bona's deserved his chance over the last 3 or 4 games, and to get an opportunity to go into training camp with the expectation you are playing backup minutes.
Yeah, and we might still have Drummond kick him out. I mean, he is only on 4 or 5 million, so it's not as if like, if you keep hold of Drummond, that's a black hole. He's going to be on 4. I think he had signed a 2-year deal last year. He'll be on a 4 or 5 year expiring. So even if he's still absolutely, not really firing on all cylinders for us, we can hold on to that, trade off that towards the tail end of the season when that expiring is going to become quite valuable. So I don't think getting rid of Drummond makes an awful lot of sense this offseason. I think probably just given that opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Bona and see what happens. So this draft could be a very good one, but the operative word there, of course, is could. Because now we just got to see how those numbers fall, how lucky we get. So we're all sort of going to hang around during the lottery day with bated breath, because that is really going to, indicate to us, did we just waste a whole 82 game season for nothing, or was there something to show for what has been an abysmal season? So fingers crossed. One final point. We talked about, Bona being a developing player that's really come out of this with, a lot of praise. Justin Edwards, he has really, really become one of those. So I think it's 17, 18 points per game. Somewhere between the lines of 36 to 38% from three, which doesn't sound like much, but he's taking about 6 attempts a game. There's that 3 or 4, if you want to put him at the 4 at least, there's that sort of 3 guard that you can put off the bench, do a bit of defensive work, bit of size, bit of rebounding, bit of effort. Again, this is, at least there's something positive to take out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know he struggled against some of the better teams, but he's got no supporting cast. And like you say, he's someone you would want to put him in against with the backups. I have confidence in him, and another person. Butler I think's been great as well.
Yep.
Not been, both of them have not been, I suppose, what you call super like stats standing out in the last few games. But I think just overall, when you look at how they can play defensively as well as offensively, I've been quite impressed with the highlight. When I look at the highlights and I see their names pop up, it's always good to see, or you go on social and see a good move or play by them. So there is some positive to come out of it. I know there's one player in particular that's obviously stood out that you're going to probably go on to now.
Yeah.
But it is good to have some other players around that you could say, okay, they can be those deep bench players. That because no one's going to probably pick them up, or they're not going to be in a position to want to be traded away or demand a trade in the off season. So you've got players there that can be a 8th, 9th, 10th player.
Yeah. And I think Lonnie Walker is someone I'd add to there as well. I think he got 28 points the other night, and he's just a good scorer. Some games he's going to shoot the lights out. Other games he's not. But if he's going to be at the end of your bench, like you were alluding to, along with Butler, Edwards, maybe one of Drummond or Bona, as an end of your bench, 10 to 15, number 10 to 15 players, well, you take that all day long, and they can develop. They're not going to get any worse. Ricky Council, I feel like some days you're in love with him, some days just like, it ain't going to happen. So we're just going to have to see. Just keep him in the G League and see what happens, really. But yeah, I mean, Yabusele and of course now Quentin Grimes. These are the 2 guys who we got to do our utmost to keep them in the team, to keep them on this team. Now, Yabu, I think, I'm not sure if I don't think for 1 second he's down tools. And what I think is probably what's happened here is that he needs people around him to make sure his game is at its best, because he's not exactly got the quickest shot in the world. And if there's no one that is taking up space in the middle like an Embiid, that makes Yabusele's job a bit harder. But ultimately, he's been absolutely brilliant all season. I think getting him on a contract won't be the hardest thing ever, because we've created cap to prioritize that. He seems to want to stay. The team seem to want him to stay, and that's indicated by the moves that they made earlier in the year. So I'm not going to lose too much sleep on that, because I think that's going to get itself over the line. And he's been brilliant this season. Again, one of our few shining stars. The next one, though, Quentin Grimes, he has almost been too good. And consequently, there's one thing going through getting 10 to 15 points per game, good 3-point shooting, etc., etc., etc. That's great, because if he did that, we would still probably want to offer him a deal. But instead, what he's done is he's averaging he's in the 20s for us.
Mm-hmm.
He's quite literally won us some games against, I think the Warriors is the one that stood out to me. And would I be right in thinking he got a 40-point game? I mean, it's all sort of blurred into one. It's just felt like it's come so thick and fast when we just accepted defeat and started tanking. But he's done some quite incredible things with very limited options surrounding him. So whilst I'd still like to think we can keep hold of him and get him, I'm wondering what sort of price do you think he's going to command? Because anyone's going to want a player of that type, 3-point shooting, defensively sound, can play the 2/3.
You know what, as well, he's another one. I was wrong. I said on our last one, I'm not convinced by him. I don't think he's a player I'd want in the organisation long term, because I just think he's just not that effective. But he's shown he can be effective and he can take on starters. So he's definitely someone I'd love to keep around. But yeah, you're spot on. I think it's going to be really hard for us to keep him. I think initially they brought him in and probably thought we can use like a mid-level exception on him, and maybe he would stay. But I think these days, you've got to look at what similar players are probably getting, and I think the mid-level exception at the moment is like 7 million, 6 million, something like that. I reckon it's probably going to be close. I think 15 million is probably what he'd be getting, because he's probably going to be a six-man of the year, right? For, potentially for a team next season if he continues this development that he's
Yeah.
shown. He's at his peak now. So I would guess that's probably what he's going to be on. I'd have to quickly Google the NBA contracts and have a look at some of the sixth men averages and see. But that's what I reckon, and that's going to be hard for us to do with three max players on our books, right?
I mean, what I'm thinking already is, I think we'd have to offer him that starting role, because in my head, and assuming we have everyone back that we want back, of course, my starting five is Maxi, Grimes, George, Yabusele, and then Embiid. Then I'll probably put McCain off the bench, and we'll monitor that, ease him back into it. I mean, who knows? There could be some draftee in there, but we're just going to go with what we know so far. So I think hopefully we could dangle something in front of him saying, look, if you stay, we'll give you the starting role. But a Daryl Morey verbal promise means absolutely nothing, as James Harden will tell you. So we're just going to have to see. It does also depend on what the market's like, and it's not a sort of striking any ill on him. It's just, if there's no cap space available, maybe that means he has to settle for 12 rather than 15 or 18. So hopefully we can get a bit lucky with that, because people might just be targeting or their cap elsewhere, because of course it is always dependent on who's available, how much money's available, etc. So we are just going to have to see on that front. So yeah, sorry, I'm not sure if you want to add anything onto that.
Well, I've just got onto contracts. I'm not sure how. I'm pretty sure I've used Hooped Hype before, but Naz Reid, sixth man of the year, he gets 13 million. Cade Cunningham's on 13, but obviously he's a rookie. Isaiah Joe's on 12 million, nearly 13 million dollars. Good old Joe. So you've got those guys. DFS 14 million. Isaiah Stewart, those sort of players around 14, 15 million. So I think 13 to 15 is probably going to be the going rate.
And how, I don't suppose cap wise, how much would we have available in this off season?
I'm not sure on that one. We have to get a cap expert on.
It is the most bewildering system I've ever come across. I try to make sense of it, and then just when I thought I could, I can't. Because I know we cleared up a lot of space in the sort of January, February time, but I'm not sure how much of that we've really sunk our teeth into. Because I know obviously we've got the Martin money, and indeed the other Martin money that we managed to trim. So that will probably lead me to think we've probably got about 12 to 13. There's natural cap increases. So how we can accommodate both of them, I don't know. I'm sure there's a way in which we can do it. I can't see us having anything more than 18, 20 mil free. So we got to try and find a way of accommodating that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be tough, because the first round pick's going to, if we do get one, is going to be around the 10 million mark. So yeah, it's going to be tough. But we got 150 plus million in our start in our starters that we're going to be keeping: Maxi, McCain, George, Embiid. They're going to be keeping. That's four players you've already got 150 million tied up in. So yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, absolutely. So it will be interesting to see how all that unfolds. Absolutely. Now to some more recent news, and it does tie into the Sixers ever so loosely, just because we can make it do so. Last night, the Nuggets fired Mike Malone. Now, look, we are no experts on the Denver Nuggets, of course. We don't watch them day in, day out. But the general consensus seems to be that that seems like a really odd move. And as I alluded to earlier today, I do listen to a lot of Denver sports stuff just as a Broncos fan. I listen to Broncos stuff and stuff from the Nuggets or the Rockies or the Avalanche. So sometimes it bleeds over. And the general consensus I got from a guy today I was listening to this morning was he was just like, I don't get it. I really, really don't. Which is interesting because I think the first thing that indicates to me is that Mike Malone is obviously very well regarded by those fans who have watched him, because often that is not the case. When Doc left the Sixers, Sixer fans didn't like him. When Nurse left the Raptors, Raptors fans didn't really like him. When Taylor Jenkins left the Grizzlies, a lot of Grizzlies fans said, yeah, he's not that great. So the fact that the Nuggets fans still actually quite like him, that's a good indication that, just to how good he is. And of course, he did win a title. And the reason how we're going to make this tie into the Sixers is rumblings have been made about whether Nick Nurse has a legitimate future here. So let's just assume we fire Nick Nurse. And I know this is the discussion we've had, albeit briefly. Would Mike Malone be top of your list now?
I think without a shadow of a doubt, the way he talks, I know, like you say, some people have been shocked by it, and I think player power has played a part in Denver with him going because he's called out his team. But as Philadelphian sports fans and people that like football, where we like that passion and people that just talk out and say how it is, he's perfect for that. And I think it would be for us having a person that'll be honest with us and open about the situation and things. I think he'll be quick to tell the situation as it is. So kind of like Brett Brown, but in a more stern way. Whereas Nurse is obviously a bit more private about it. Doc was more arrogant about it, and I think Malone's more there. And I also think he's a great coach. He's got the best record in Denver history. Won him a championship. They're doing all right this season. It's not like they're going to be a home C team. So I find it baffling that they fired him. I'm the general manager.
It's a complete reset, but it makes you wonder, why don't they just do this reset after the season's done? Because you look, even if you don't think you're going to win anything with Mike Malone now, you're going to definitely not win anything without him, without an actual coach in play. So that makes absolutely no sense to me. But I think there's a lot of good positive things to be said about the guy. I think too often teams are very star orientated. And look, Jokic, I know we are sort of programmed as Sixer fans to hate him because it's him or Embiid. Currently, it's him. We can't kid ourselves. Both in their prime, I don't know. I think it really is anyone's guess. But currently, it is him. But ultimately, he's made that Nuggets team tick around Jokic, but it's also not Jokic centric. So, look at the likes of Aaron Gordon; they've done so brilliantly there. Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Bruce Brown when he was there as well. Jamal Murray. I know he's had a bit of slump this season. Michael Porter Jr. If anything, the role players step up to new heights. And he's been so fantastic at finding those players and really creating a place for them. Because Aaron Gordon's place is perfectly suited to Aaron Gordon, despite the fact he's the fourth best player and then in that starting five. He also got a really good tune at Hartenstein when he was there. So the amount of improvement and good work he does with the fringes, if you want to call them that, is really promising. And that is something we've lacked because it is Embiid or bust for us, as this season has shown.
Yeah, absolutely. I think nailed it on the head there. That there's a coach that's made something work with what he's got in front of him and presented to him every night. And no matter what coaches come through the door here, they've not got a plan B. And I don't know if that's because Maury and the coach have said, yeah, let's just keep building around Embiid. But Nurse or whoever's here next season needs to have that backup plan, because Embiid's going to miss the first part of the season now, no matter what. And there's also rumours that he could miss the whole season, depending on what type of surgery he gets. So you need to be prepared for that not to be in play. And then you've got someone with a similar skill set with Embiid offensively that can, obviously not as good as a passer as Joker, but he can shoot threes like Jokic can. He can, cause some quick fast breaks because he's not, he's got a great long pass he can do. Obviously, I wouldn't trust him to, ball handle like he does sometimes because it's cost us games. But he can, he can do a good long pass when needed. It's been shown before when we had Simmons here. So it would be a good choice. But I think Nurse will be given one more year. I do think
Yeah.
that.
I probably agree. I do see Nurse getting one last try. But the more I sort of talk about Michael Malone, and I vocalize it now, and the points you made as well with regards to his demeanor, it does seem like a really nice fit if it does happen. I think one thing I will add as well, he's got Russell Westbrook playing really well, which not a lot of
Yeah.
people have been able to do for a long, long time. Especially in a team where you got Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic. That does not compute. That doesn't make sense. But he's got it. He got it working. So very intelligent NBA mind there. So the final talk on this coaching aspect, and I think when we've had this discussion before, we've mentioned Monty Williams, we've mentioned potential suitors of that ilk, and perhaps they haven't quite got us excited. But I do find myself getting drawn into the sort of the unknown, the mystery box that is sort of Sam Cassell. And I feel like if, again, Nick Nurse has said, right, I'm done at the end of the season, and say we couldn't get Mike Malone, I'd 100% I'm bringing Sam Cassell in for an interview at the very least, because some of those relationships that he struck up with Tyrese Maxey, I'm adamant the reason Tyrese Maxey developed is largely down to Cassell rather than Doc.
Yeah, I agree. Doc I think Doc did some good stuff with Maxi, obviously being an ex guard himself. But I think Sam Cassell's got something about him that the players like. He's got a well respected demeanor about him from whenever you see the players. Whenever you've gone to a game and watched the pre-game warm ups and seen him when he was here, the players were, with him. And particularly Maxi, and when he was here, was always doing stuff with Sam Cassell and even Harden actually, that I did see some moments because that year I went to a few games and he does seem like he's got that relationship, and I think the fact that he was an ex NBA champion, he's been around winning organizations as a player and a coach now. I think there's no reason why he wouldn't be a good choice to interview. And I'm sure he's a key part of Boston's. I wouldn't say that it's all down to Missouri. I reckon he's playing a part as well. I can't imagine it being he's the lead man and then someone's just feeding. He's just like there as a backup and not doing a lot as an assistant. I think he plays a key part in their sort of playbook.
Yeah, wherever he's been, there's been a base level of success. The Sixers, look, there was a lot of bad moments during that Doc time, but if we're looking at it holistically, I guess you could call it a success in its own. If you're trying to find that perspective, obviously Boston's won title, and previously it was at the Clippers, and again, bizarrely, before Kawhi and PG got there, that team was looking really good and on the way up. Obviously didn't work with Kawhi and PG, but even then, there was some good bits. So perhaps there's something to be said about that. But that's the problem with assistants. You never know how much they do until you get them as a head coach, and that either works brilliantly or it works terribly. So do we take that risk or not? Are the Sixers ready for another coin flip risk? And I'm not entirely sure that is the wisest decision to be making, especially, like I said, given how fragile we are as an organization right now. So that is all we've got time for. It's a slightly shorter one today, but we're hoping to get some more out very soon, especially with the season coming to a close. Hopefully the Sixers' future becoming a bit more evident. Where exactly do we go from here? Whom might we want to target, not just in the draft, but maybe even in free agency, if we dare think that far ahead? I mean, are we even going to have Paul George? Are we even going to have Joel Embiid? There have been certainly rumors swirling, nothing concrete that's making me think that this is going to change too drastically. But absolutely, there will be talking points, as there so often is during the off season. We can have a little prediction. It'd be nice to watch the playoffs without having to worry about, oh God, the Sixers are playing today or tomorrow. Just to put your feet up, watch some basketball, and just let other teams sweat it out. So that'll be quite nice just to have a little guessing game of who's going to win. Top of my, I mean, do you have any? It's actually really wide open. Is there anyone that's really standing out for you?
I mean, it hurts to say it, but I just think the Celtics again just look so well built. That Drew Holiday trade is going to bring them, I feel, 2 championships. I think Drew will probably retire at the end of this season, so I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. But I think this year it's going to be another Celtics. If everyone stays healthy, that is. Obviously, I'm basing it on that. I think it's them. OKC, they're young. It's their it's their second time in the playoffs. First time as like a legit contender. SGA winds me up with his fell bait in like he's like Brunson on steroids or Embiid on steroids. So that's who I'll go for. I think Boston. What about you?
Well, I think firstly, I'm going to go. I would love OKC. It's a head and a heart thing, isn't it? I love OKC. I want them to win. I'd like Isaiah Joe to win it, but probably would be Boston rather frustratingly. I wouldn't even mind the Cavs. I would have no issue with the Cavs winning it. I think there's a lot to like about that team. I can even just see the Lakers just binking it. Just in true Lakers fashion, they just find a way to win. It's almost like what Real Madrid do in Champions Leagues. They'll just win it despite not even being the best team. The Lakers can just win these sorts of things. Now, fine, they haven't won since the bubble, but they're the Lakers. They carry an aura with them, so we'll have to see. But yeah, as long as it's not the Celtics, I'm going to be pretty happy. Then, of course, yeah, we'll look towards the draft. We'll look towards the awards predictions, who's going to win what. And then before you know it, hopefully October brings around. Some positive news for the Sixers. They're going to look like a competing team again. Philly's just wrapped up a World Series. Who knows? That's what we can hope for. Southampton unbeaten. Yeah, we're just gonna have to see. Because if we don't have this sort of positivity now, then it's going to be a very bleak summer, isn't it? But anyway,
Indeed.
We're going to call that there. So quickly, just where can we find you then, Sam?
Yeah, obviously part of the WhatsApp group, which I'm sure you're going to promote in a minute on PSI, but also on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. Sam, UK Sixers fan. Yourself?
Fantastic. Yes. So I am at UK76ers on Twitter/X, whatever you'd like to call it. We are all also now on Instagram, which is also UK76ers. On Twitter, also X, and Instagram, the same Instagram bio is the same as the Twitter one for Philly Sports International. That's at Philly Sports INT. That's going to allow you to then keep up to date with everything we have to offer as part of that PSI community. It will give you all the links you need so you can sign up to become a member. You can join us in our really exciting journey going into the next couple of years, going into all the years beyond that, so that you can keep up to date with everything Phillies, Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, college, even the Union's on its way. And then before you know it, we're going to have all of these tidy links. And I know, Sam, you're going to really hopefully benefit from this, given the fact that there is a FIFA World Cup coming around the corner very soon in 2026. And if we get lucky, there'll be a couple of England games, hopefully, at the Lincoln Financial Field, which actually sounds incredible. So being part of this community now, I have no doubt it's going to give you so many benefits for the future. And also, it's just good crack. It's really good laugh, really great people. Because of just linking up with this community, I wouldn't have the opportunity to meet so many fantastic people in Eagles, Sixers, Phillies. And yeah, it really is an opportunity you don't want to pass up. So thank you all so much for that. We'll speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.